Shawn.
Mike?
What is this, a crossover episode? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 2 of What Is This, a Crossover Episode, where we are covering Bojack Horseman, and we're on Season 2 of Bojack Horseman, Episode 1, Brand New Couch. My name is Mike, and with me is Shawn. Hello, Shawn.
Hi, Mike. You know what we should do in
What?
the opening?
What?
Instead of me doing the boo-doo-doo-doo, we should go yowza, bowza, bobowza.
Is that
Like
what it is? Wait, is it
after
Yowza Bobowza, or is it? Yeah, it is. It's Yowza Bobowza. That's such nonsense.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that's the actual thing he says or not. All right,
I
yeah.
think that's what we should do after, what is this, a crossover episode? And then I'm like, yowza, bobowza. And
All right,
then
I'm gonna cut it in that way for this episode.
Okay, cool.
And then I'm gonna leave this part in so you get people know that we're a sham. Anyway,
Yeah. This is the creative process and work.
Welcome to Season 2. We're very excited to continue going into Bojack Horseman. We just watched the first episode titled Brand New Couch, as I said earlier. This episode has an 8 even stars out of 10 on IMDb.
I would have thought it'd be a little bit higher.
Really? Okay. You liked this episode, huh?
I really liked this episode.
Shawn, it's time to find out what we're going to be saddled with for the next 12 episodes.
I'm so excited.
This episode was released on July 17th, 2015.
Okay.
Which, that's
2 days before my birthday.
2 days before your birthday and almost a whole year after the original, or more than a year.
Yeah.
More than a year after the original release of the first season. So I'm at our sponsor, onthisday.com. There's a lot here. I haven't read any of it, but there's more to tackle than in the first season. First of all, under historical events, Marvel's Ant-Man, starring Paul Rudd as the titular character, is released. And it has it has a picture of Paul Rudd and Stan Lee.
Good shit. I
Rest
like
in
that
peace,
movie.
Stan.
Ant-Man's
good. Ant-Man's good. The music, let's go to the music. Number one song in the U.S. was See You Again by Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth.
Oh, yeah.
Sad
that makes
one.
sense. Yeah.
And then the number one song in the UK was Black Magic by Little Mix. Don't know what that is.
I'm going to wait until about halfway through the season before I decide to look it up.
We'll wait till we're really hurting. It was a Friday, obviously. 7 years, 6 months, and 7 days ago. Not a leap year. And it was the year of the goat/sheep. In the Chinese zodiac.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the little news tidbits here. There's 4 of them. Or no, there's 2 news tidbits and 2 deaths that we have to cover. So, scientists solve mystery of sleeping sickness in 2 villages in northern Kazakhstan. Uranium mining had caused an increase in carbon monoxide.
Oh. Man, that's bad.
It gets worse. Suicide bomber in Khan Banisad, Iraq, kills 120. ISIS claims responsibility. So that's a thing I'm going to say 11 more times.
Do you think this bit was a mistake?
It might have been a mistake. And then Jules Bianchi, French auto racer, dies from injuries during an accident at 2014 Japanese F1 GP at age 25. Yikes.
Damn.
And Owen Chadwick, English historian, priest, and university chancellor, dies at 99. But he lived a good life.
That's a long run, dude.
Well, when you list 3 different occupations under somebody when they die, they lived a pretty good life,
I do have to say, kind of like, kind of scrub mode a little bit, dying at 99,
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't even get to 100?
Yeah, it is
like,
kind of unfortunate.
Like,
skill issue.
I think just, maybe I'm built different, but
skill issue for sure.
I die either way earlier, or at least make it to 100.
Yeah,
if you're already there.
You're making it to 75 top, Shawn. So
yeah, which is great. Hey, I'm not aiming for 100 though, you know? Like, I'm not getting close. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But if you get that close, you know, but you don't get it, like,
if you don't set high expectations, Shawn, you'll never be disappointed.
that's kind of a, you know, time loss, you know?
Yeah. Time loss. Okay, anyway, that was horrible. This episode is called Brand New Couch, as I said for the third time. Picking up where he left off, Bojack Horseman is now set to start filming his dream movie, Secretariat. Shawn, what did you think of this episode?
I really, really enjoyed this episode, like, a lot. It was nice to be back to, like, you know, the main plot of the show. And one of the things I really loved about this episode was the animation. The lighting is so much better than last season.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot more budget.
Just like really good.
So yeah, I really like this episode as well. I think it's a good introduction into season 2, and I think we set up a lot of what's going to be the issue for Bojack, is that he's slowly finding out he actually isn't an actor. You know, he can't actually act, which, you know, they kind of hint at, I think, early on, but it doesn't outright say it. But he's not.
I think it's pretty clear. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
like,
not much of an actor, this man. So
and now that he's started to turn his life around, he's not fit for this part.
Right. And that's the other thing, is he's kind of jumped into this toxic positivity deal that a lot of people find themselves in, and it starts to, like, you've all had that, like, friend that, like, oh yeah, I'm listening to these self-help thing, and then, like, everything they talk about is that, and it's just like, oh, stop. But
I liked it better when you fucking were depressed like the rest of us.
Right, yeah.
Stop being happy. Jesus Christ.
It could be a lot. So anyway, we start this episode with before the cold open is Bojack's perspective of the Secretariat talk show that we saw in the previous season, where basically Bojack's trying to watch the show, but his mom and dad are arguing heavily to the point where he can barely hear it, and he has to get really close to the TV. And they're fighting about the typical things you'd expect them to fight about, hussies and dinner plates, and they're smashing plates. And he says, "What do we have saucers for?" And she says, "For entertainment." And he goes, "Well, I'm exit-taining. Do you get it?" Which it's like, it just, Bojack is very much like his father in a lot of ways.
Yeah, God.
Beatrice Horseman, Bojack's mother, comes into the room and says some pretty harrowing things to Bojack, but Bojack responds with three things. He says, I know, I will. So, like, he's heard her say these things to her before, which is, like, the heartbreaking part of it. Like, you know, I was beautiful before I had you. You ruined my life. You better make something special out of your life to make up for it. Those are the three things she kind of says to him. And you're just like, that's fucking awful. And then she goes, okay, well, now that I'm done being a good mother, enjoy your stupid television show. You know, it's just like, oh.
I'm going to go hide your father's heart medication.
That's what it was, yep. Yep.
But yeah, we get, I like that we open this season with Bojack's point of view of the opening of the finale last season. I think that's a good little, you know, good little connection there. And just like the lighting in that scene is really good. It's just, it's all very good. And getting to see more of Bojack's background is like, oh, I see why he's the way that he is.
Yeah, and we're going to get a lot more of that in this season. A lot more of, you know, not just his childhood, but we see a flashback later with his mother during his horsing around days. And very, very welcome backstory for Bojack. And we're going to kind of piece together why he is the way that he is.
Yeah.
We cut to present day after the intro where Bojack's listening to an audiobook.
Well, really quickly about the intro, I wanted to point out the movie set is in the intro now.
Yes, instead of the supermarket.
And I have a theory.
Okay,
this is like the shit where, you know, you're like, you know, when you're making the show, you know how it's going to end, so you like put a tease into the intro maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think, what if the end of all of this, Bojack drowns in his pool?
Really?
That's why the intro ends like that.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, the intro's always ended like that, but yeah, that's not new.
Well, no, but I just came up with that theory while I was watching it this time. I was like sitting here and I was like, is there anything about this intro that matters? Like, are they trying to hint at anything? Do they have an ending in mind while they're doing this? And I was wondering if possibly the drowning thing is important.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about the intro?
No, not really. Okay. Just those two things.
So, Bojack's listening to an audiobook about positivity.
Fucking George Takei.
It's George Takei. I was wondering if you'd recognize it.
At first, I thought it was somebody doing a George Takei voice because it sounded kind of off at first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you felt that way, but I did look it up while I was watching and saw that it was, in fact, George Takei.
George Takei. He's all over this episode. Just saying the kind of like nonsensical bullshit that you hear in those kind of things. That's like, they try to make an acronym out of everything. And
there's like acronyms inside of acronyms.
Right.
Like,
and we get that very early on with pants. People all need to see is the acronym that we get first. But then he tells Todd he needs a fresh active BNA, and he goes, BNA, and he goes, brand new attitude. And attitude stands for, but then he gets cut off, so we don't know what attitude stands for. But the reason Todd's upset is because Bojack had his old couch moved out with Todd sleeping on it.
Yeah.
So Todd woke up in an alley, and Todd doesn't like the new couch, so he's going to go sleep in Bojack's car.
I will say, I did think that their relationship was going to be more strained here at the start.
Yeah, it's almost like they gave it a bit of a reset. Not quite a reset, but like they pushed it back a little bit. Like
there's still that tension there. It's just not as, immediate as it was in the finale.
Well, and I think they're going to go into that a little more.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
And Todd, you find out Todd's a very forgiving, nice person, where Bojack's not the same. So, and those people tend to stick around, those people, for whatever reason. But we get Bojack trying to run up the hill outside his house, and he is struggling. And one of the things George Takei says, he goes, this is a metaphor. You are literally a metaphor. And it fucking killed me. So stupid. Yeah. We cut to Princess Carolyn in her office.
And she does this thing that Mr. Peanut Butter does, where like her line will be fucking insane that we cut into, and then it's like, that's it. Like, we move on. She goes, and she had no idea her boyfriend was the Strangler. And then I was like, wait, what? And then he just moves on.
Well, she goes,
I love it when this show does that.
They were making a point here where she says, some people just see what they want to see, right, Vincent? And Vincent's on the other line, and he goes, yeah, because she's clearly a victim of that, because she literally thinks he's an adult, and he's not.
Although, I have to point out, Mike, Vincent is in an office when we cut to him.
That's true. Maybe at the business factory.
What's that? What's that about?
What if he's
in
not
his dad's
actually,
office?
What if he's not actually three kids stacked on each other, Shawn?
I have wanted to see the three kids that are stacked on top of each other since he was introduced, and I still hold out hope that we're going to see them eventually.
I will not say what happens, but I will say they do resolve Vincent Adultman. Let's say that.
I'm really glad about that, because I think that is the plot thread that I'm most interested in right now.
Well, we only get a tiny bit of Vincent today, and Bojack shows up in her office, and he says, I just ran here. And she's like, you ran all the way from your house? And he said, no, I drove here, but I wiggled my wrist out the window so the Fitbit thinks it counted the miles.
We've all done that, right?
We've all done that. And then
that game, but that game I've been seeing ads for where like, track your walk to Mordor or whatever.
I haven't seen this.
You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen this.
It's like you're walking, and depending on how far you walk, it tells you how far in the journey to Mordor you are from the books. I'm just imagining that, so but you're in a car, and you're like...
It's like, they're trying to get you to like walk.
Yeah, so they're like, you walked 5 miles? This is where you are in the story of Lord of the Rings.
Interesting.
Like you're leaving the Shire or whatever, you know?
I wonder... I should do a video where I walk the whole thing.
To Mordor?
Yeah.
I think that would be great content for you and Jason.
Yeah. We walk.
You guys are big Lord of the Rings heads.
We walk the whole trip. How long is it?
long.
Like years of walking?
I think it's a goal to do like over the course of a year.
So you think it's years of walking?
I mean, no, I think you could do it in a year.
You think it's a year of walking?
Yeah, so okay. I looked it up. It's 1,779 miles. If you walk 3 miles every other day, it'll take you about 20 weeks.
Why would I go every other day?
I don't know. Oh, wait, no. 20 weeks will get you to Weathertop, not Mordor.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's early on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is definitely like a year if you're doing a lot. Okay, well, hang on. Let's see.
Maybe when I quit my job.
So it's like 1,800 miles. Let's divide that by 365. You'd have to do like 5 miles a day.
Easy. 5 miles of walking a day?
Yeah.
Come on, that's easy.
I mean, especially like
cut that in half.
Especially like with your job, you know?
Yeah, I just no, this is stupid. Anyway, back to Bojack Horseman. We meet Princess Carolyn's new assistant, Stuart, who is, you can tell, is just a dumpster fire of a human being.
Yes.
He calls him Bojack Horseman. And then he says, I got your coffee. Your coffee's coming late, just like you wanted. And she goes, I didn't say late. I said latte. And he goes, well, I wrote down late. So that's what it's going to be. It's like, holy shit. And then she makes this Belushi comment where she says, good assistants are like Belushi brothers. The ones you want don't stick around, and the ones you don't do. And it's like, yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Pretty insane.
And then Bojack is just still spouting like toxic positivity nonsense. He's hashtagging things he says, including hashtag Bojack thoughts.
Yeah, it gets really annoying.
Right. And it's purposeful. And then she takes a fake phone call to get him to leave, but she goes, no, he's not taking the hint, to the fake person on the other line.
It's really funny.
And then we head to Mr. Peanut Butter's house, which I love Mr. Peanut Butter with the cone on.
Yeah, the cone is really funny. And his explanation for why he got it, where he punched a mirror because he got drunk and thought his reflection was another dog, and he was really mad because he was wearing my clothes.
Yes. I do like that. I just like the idea that he can't stop himself from biting at his cast, and that's why he has to wear the cone. Because, of course. Bojack shows up, and they actually are getting along.
I wrote down, oh God, now there are 2 of them.
Right. Because I think what we're going to find out is, Mr. Peanut Butter, maybe a little over positive at times, even when he shouldn't be.
I'm excited.
They get along. They Mr. Peanut Butter, or I think Bojack says Kend. What you doing this Kend, as in weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And like, because Mr. Peanut's like, I love that. And he invites him to a Stones show. And Bojack's like, the Rolling Stones? And he goes, no, the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones. Which is a ridiculous deal. And that joke pays off later. Just a ridiculous thing. And then Bojack says, I'm not familiar with that group, but I'm into trying new things. And Diane is just flabbergasted. She's like, who are you? But they're carpooling on their way to the Secretariat set for the first day. So we're on set. Bojack's in his Secretariat uniform, so to speak, and he meets Corduroy Jackson Jackson. Model / actor / dancer / dreamer. What do you think of Corduroy Jackson Jackson so far, Shawn?
I don't think we got a lot of him. I'm excited to see more, but I didn't have like he did the Slash thing, and I thought that was kind of funny. But beyond that,
we don't get a lot of him. He's played by actor Brandon T. Jackson, who's known for Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
Percy Jackson.
Oh, Grover.
Yeah, Grover from Percy Jackson. And
man, those movies fucking suck.
Yeah, but he's in there. He's in them. So
he's not bad in them.
Well, good for him. I've never seen him.
Yeah.
Diane introduced herself to Kelsey Jennings, who was just pissed that the character consultant even exists, but asks her to watch a cord because it makes sure people don't trip over it because it's very important. And then she meets Todd, who she loves his face, looks like a Matisse painting. Just
Can
loves
someone
Todd.
get this guy a cookie?
Yes, right now. But then we find out the main thing of the episode is that Bojack, now that this negative or this positivity, this toxic positivity, he cannot be sad because he's forced himself into this, like, I'm positive. And like we said earlier, he's not an actor. So
no,
what are you doing here? And one of the ironic things of this episode is when someone actually approaches him outside of this, what are you doing here? He does it perfectly, but he can't do it when he's trying to do it, which is pretty comical. During this, Diane gets a call from our good friend Sebastian St. Clair.
I love when he's talking to her and he walks by the like trenches and there's just 3 dead soldiers like with blood coming out of their heads.
Well, they were alive. They were alive, and then they cut to Diane and it cuts back and they're dead.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. And I like when he's going through the the hospital tent or whatever, and he's covering up the dead people, and then he covers one up and he walks away and he goes, I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet. Yeah, he has like a weird accent. Cordovia, which is definitely a real place. Some people vacation there in Cordovia. But basically the idea is Diane says she's going to be there after the movie shoot, and he goes, well, good thing there's still going to be war and suffering for you to, and it's even more clear than before that he's just doing this for the, I think they were a little more subtle with it in the first time you see him. Like, he does some things that are like maybe he's just not paying attention because he's on the phone. But here it's clear he is doing this just to look good, like he's helping.
Yeah.
But he's really not doing anything.
He's taking selfies and shit. Like,
We get to a point where Diane goes back in, and Bojack's still struggling to act, and he just can't do it. And Kelsey's like, Bojack, Secretary, it's sad. This is supposed to be a sad scene. And he can't get away from what are you doing here? And Diane goes to give her 2 cents because she's the character consultant, and she stopped watching the cord. So a woman trips over it and ruins her face. And
the entire set
falls apart.
Everything.
My favorite part of this is Lenny Turtletop ends up on his back and can't get up. He's just struggling because he's a turtle. And they just show him just absolutely struggling. But they need to take 2 days off from set to fix the set. She says maybe people can figure out why they're actually here looking at Bojack.
Yeah.
So Bojack has a flashback. He's in the car with Diane and Todd, obviously sitting in the back. But he has a flashback to when his mom visited the set of Horseman Around. And even while he's acting, he keeps looking over to see if he gets his mother's approval, she's not having it. She's arms crossed, doesn't think it's funny, not laughing. And they go to lunch, and she just, again, in the way only she can, just ridicules him. She says it's not Ibsen. And he goes, that's what you took away from it, is that my TV show is not Ibsen.
And then she's saying, a person next to me was wearing a shirt that said, just do it. And he's like, yeah, Mom, T-shirt is the worst thing to happen to anyone in a theater.
Right.
And that got me.
Well, and she also says, I don't know what the T-shirt referred to, but I will not be spoken to in that tone by an article of clothing. And he's just please bring me gin now.
He's begging for alcohol.
Yep.
She's like, I hope you die before I do, so you don't need to know, or you don't have to know what it's like to not have a mother or something. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she calls him a clown.
Yeah.
Basically just belittles everything he's doing. And he replies to that dead comment is, if at least one of us goes, that will be fine with me. So we cut back to the present day, and he's listening to George Takei, and George Takei says this, it says the past is in the past. That's why it's called the past.
Yeah.
He goes, you can go around and beat your tom drum, or you can row your boat. Tom or row tomorrow. It's just the stupidest fucking thing. And he gets a call from Princess Carolyn. And she's like, hey, are you blowing this? But before he can even answer, she gets a call from a new recurring character Rutabaga.
We're getting a lot of new recurring characters.
Rutabaga Rabidowitz, voiced by Sonic the Hedgehog himself, Ben Schwartz.
Love him.
Love Ben Schwartz.
Love him.
Hilarious, man.
Recently in Star Wars, Ben Schwartz. Love him.
Yep. Ben Schwartz, great dude, funny guy, one of my favorite comedians. Not really even like a stand-up comedian, but just like a comedic actor. But he's great, and they kind of just have a nonsense conversation. The scene is meant to just introduce Rutabaga as someone who not works with Princess Carolyn, but works in the general vicinity of Princess Carolyn, like one of her, a work colleague. But I don't even think he works for the same. I'm not sure if he works for the same place or not. Even
I think so.
He's an agent. Maybe he does.
I think the idea is that like he works for the same agency, but he's newer. He's a floor below her. Like he's not as high profile an agent as she is. And then later on, she calls somebody who might be a higher profile agent than her because he's a floor above her. So,
Charlie Witherspoon, the son of her boss.
Yes. Oh, I remember all this now.
He used to be her assistant. And then, of course, because he's a Nepo baby, so he got promoted to be on the floor above her.
Very, very relevant.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, Nepo babies. That's the new buzzword. I hear Nepo baby everywhere. Anyway, Rutabaga, she tells... this is where they start doing this thing where they make Amy Sedaris do these tongue twisters. And it's pretty subtle here compared to what it gets to, but they do like the Emily Van Camp and something Van Zants,
yes.
bam, bam, bam. And it's a thing I think she stressed to them that she didn't like it, and so they continue to write things like that for her, which I don't know why, but that's what I've read about it.
I keep forgetting that the best character on The Mandalorian is also in this show.
Yeah. She's pretty great in The Mandalorian. I always forget
about that. I love her in The Mandalorian.
We go through this whole call with Rutabaga, but then it cuts back to Bojack and goes, yeah, she's not coming back from the call.
Yeah.
And Diana asks him, hey, like, you were on Horsing Around for like years. What did you do then? And we get another flashback to 1988 where he's going into Herb's office after presumably having lunch with his mother. And he asks, hey, am I a clown? Herb is like, yeah, man, maybe you're not an actor, but that's okay. You hit your lines. You say it with good diction. Maybe someday down the road, you'll have to like be trained as an actor. But for now, don't worry about it. And then Bojack
Herb also... Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I would say Herb also, when like Bojack comes in, Bojack is down and he's like, I told you shouldn't have invited your mom to a taping or whatever. Your mom is a bitch.
Oh, yeah, he does the Max Headroom reference.
Yeah.
Your mom is a bitch. And it's like, what a 1988 reference. Do you know who Max Headroom is?
Mm-mm.
So it's this, to be honest, it's even before me because I was born in 87. But basically, he's this fictional character.
Damn, he got a lot of head.
Yeah, he was supposed to be an AI, was the idea. But he would like, every once in a while would like stutter because he was like electronic.
Yeah.
It was this weird character. I don't know a ton about it, but that's the reference is that the stutter, like it was like the audio glitching because he's an AI.
He was in Pixels.
Oh, was he? I never saw Pixels.
I didn't either, but it says last appearance, Pixels.
That would make sense that Adam Sandler would put him in Pixels because it's definitely a thing Adam Sandler liked for sure. Anyway, we cut back to present day and Bojack's like, oh shit, I'm not an actor. It's like he just realized, I actually have never learned how to act. And he starts to have a panic attack and where he talks about moving to Mexico and falling in love and running a textile plant. But then he goes, even in his fantasy, he doesn't need the responsibility of a textile plant. And he has this bit of panic attack. But Diane kind of calms down and says, hey, I have all this footage of Secretariat. You can study it. You can take some acting classes. You have 2 days. He goes, you're right. I have 2 days. I can do all this. I have 2 days. Then it goes 2 days later, and they're still in the car, and he goes, shit, I didn't do any of that. Which is a classic Bojack deal. They do that quite a bit. They set up this expectation of there's going to be some montage where he fixes all this. No, he didn't do any of that shit. So
I really vibe with it. You know what I'm saying? And I've also done I'm going to get this stuff done. I'm going to get it done. I didn't get it done.
Yep. Didn't get any of it done. Didn't even try.
Didn't even try.
So we get to Bojack's trailer that day, and Turtletop and Kelsey are in there, and he has some guy scan his face just in case he dies or does something stupid so they can finish the movie. And he says it's a common thing we do when people, maybe a jackass had a book written about how he makes all these questionable decisions, and we do it for insurance purposes, so just in case he goes all Belushi on us. And Bojack says, wait, which Belushi? Which is a callback to the Belushi joke earlier. So he gets scanned, and then Kelsey, he says, did you make a mistake hiring me? And she mentions that she never makes mistakes. She does all her crosswords in Sharpie, and she doesn't know the shortcut for undo. And he goes, it's Command Z. And she goes, I don't need it. But basically, she just tells him, hey, I don't really give a shit if you're happy. Like, you have a job to do. Let's do it.
Damn.
And it's like, we get a quick scene where Diane...
she's like, I don't care if you're happy or not, or whatever. And then Todd walks in, and she's like, oh, I love you. I want to put you in my pocket.
Yeah, the whole juxtaposition of that, where she just loves Todd no matter what. We get a quick scene where Lenny Turtletop comes up to Diane and goes, you're a writer, right? And she goes, yeah. He goes, can you write this sign saying, watch out for the cord? I know you were trying to tell people, but it's a really important job, and a sign won't get distracted. So again...
They also, when they cut into that scene, they pan past... like a memorial picture, and it says Deborah's face, but not forgotten. It's just,
Deborah, that was her name. I couldn't think of her name earlier. But then we go back to the trailer where Mr. Peanut Butter shows up with his cone, and he's made 2 mix CDs of the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones for Bojack.
Yeah, he sounded a little bit like you in this scene.
What do you mean?
I got some you vibes. Well, he was just talking about, this is their earlier stuff, and this is it's just, you're really into bands and stuff, and like when they break up and all that kind of stuff.
Is this revenge for the Ethan thing where I said you're a lot like Ethan? Are you trying to...
It's not, because I don't think this is as bad as the Ethan thing. I just think that it's reminded me of sitting down and listening to you or Jason talk about bands.
Okay. Well, I will say I don't like the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones. I don't like ska, but I do appreciate the bit where Bojack says, I don't want to hang out with you or listen to your music. And he says, I think does he say, I think I've reached you at a bad time. Is that the impression that I get? Which is a famous Mighty Mighty Boss Stones song. Wait, is that the name of the song? Yeah. It's the one where it's like, never had to knock on wood. That one? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
You're definitely Mr. Peanut Butter.
But Mr. Peanut Butter, he turns him down and he leaves Mr. Peanut Butter's. We see for the first time, really, Mr. Peanut Butter giving up his positive persona, his facade, so to speak. Stupid. And he rips off his cone and starts biting at his cast. And you're like,
Mr. Peanut Butter, no!
Because any other time we've seen him so far, he's just been seen, you don't see the aftermath of Bojack being rude to him or whatever.
Yeah.
And he seems unflappable. But here we get a little bit more of the, interesting. Maybe there's more to Mr. Peanut Butter than what we thought. Todd gives a monologue here about he's trying to pump Bojack up, but really it's about him and the couch. Where he's like, the couch might be scary, but we should go sleep on it anyway. We can't just sleep in Bojack's car for the rest of our life. And Bojack's like, wait, are you even talking to me anymore?
Yeah.
And then we get one more scene with Princess Carolyn and Rutabaga, where she's doing more of the wordplay of the Van Zan Cam Tham 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 Pam. And it turns out Rutabaga kind of got a screen test for one of his clients for the what she was setting up with that movie for her client. And so she's a little mad, but she, that's show business, right? And they do this bit, the stomp bit, which they did earlier, where he goes, stomp once for this, stomp twice for this. And twice is always the better option. And he's always like, I only heard one stomp. And it's just such a stupid Ben Schwartz kind of bit.
I'm very excited.
It wouldn't surprise me if he came up with that on his own, because that's just such a it's funny because he got typecast for a while as basically in Parks and Rec is probably his most famous character, Jean-Ralphio Saperstein. And he gets typecast as kind of this whoa kind of guy, right? Like just this guy that's just full of shit. And he does that a little bit here, but it's still pretty funny. Bojack's in his trailer listening to his George Takei tapes, and he gets a call from his mother.
Yes.
And I actually have the whole conversation here, Shawn.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm gonna read it. What do you want, Mom? Look who finally decided to pick up the phone. Do you need more blood? I don't need blood. I read your book, Bojack. Oh. It takes a real narcissist to think anyone wants to buy a book about him. You know how I feel about Anne Frank.
God.
That was a diary. I read the parts about me, the things I've said to you. You must think I'm a real monster. Mom, I don't want to fight you, Bojack. I just wanted to tell you I know. I know you want to be happy, but you won't be, and I'm sorry. What? It's not just you, you know. Your father and I, you came by it honestly. The ugliness inside you. You were born broken. That's your birthright. And now you can fill your life with projects, your books, and your movies, and your little girlfriends. But it won't make you whole. You're Bojack Horseman, and there's no cure for that. Anyway, do you remember who directed the Philadelphia Story? 5 letters, second letter U. Lubitsch? No, Bojack. Goodbye. And what I love about this scene is not only that it's like a good monologue that we get all the time in this show, but the dissonant like kind of chords in the music that play while she's talking. It's almost like they're almost like horror vibes. It's menacing.
Yeah.
It's really powerful the way they do it, and that gets Bojack where he needs to be in order to actually do the line in the movie properly. With the "What are you doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of the episode. So
it's like, oh Jesus.
Yeah. This episode was kind of wacky and funny, and then it just boom punches you in the gut.
Yeah, but I also think it has a good undercurrent running through the whole episode of like, hey, Bojack is not successful if he's happy.
Right.
Which is, like, and also I think part of it is he's also a little scared to be sad.
Yeah.
I think that's also part of why he's like not tapping into it, and he's not like doing the line, because like he's not even attempting to do the line in a sad.
Yeah, it's more than just bad acting, right? Like it's
it's also, I think at least, like he doesn't want to say something like that, even if it's subconsciously. He's like, I'm happy now. I'm going to be happy.
Right. Which
is a problem when you're playing a character that is going to die tragically at the end.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of, whether you think people should method act or not, there's a lot with that, right? But like there's definitely something to it where it's like, I think it's probably tough to act actually sad and not actually be sad.
Yeah.
Or at least be able to pull yourself into a spot where you are sad, where because he's not actually happy, right? He's just pushing down everything else to be happy, to try and be happy. And so when you're pushing down everything else, I don't think you can just pull from your sadness that easily,
Yeah.
But and it also shows that, Bojack is definitely a product of his growing up environment, but it still affects him today. He still just wants his mom to be proud of him.
It is crazy to me that his mom is so self-aware like that, but also just still such a bitch.
Right.
Like,
she's like a terrible person, but doesn't care, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, she acknowledges, yeah, you're fucked up because of us. Now, also, I'm going to continue to fuck you up even worse.
Right.
Like, It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. It's pretty, and you get the sense that, Bojack's mom is pretty old, and they do some like visual cues to show you that, yeah, she's old. Like, she has lipstick on her teeth, and she, she's not as put together as she was in the flashback, right? Because she's old. And I feel like a lot of times when people get pretty old, they tend to like just be who they were at a certain point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know that she's to the point where she could change or be better, you know? I don't think that's possible for her now at this point. And so it's very sad because, you know, Bojack could clearly use some kind of support from her that he's not getting.
And he never will.
Yep. Anyway, that was sad. So,
do you have a favorite animal-based joke, Mike?
It's got to be the cone on Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
God, Sora's hungry. Hold on.
Oh yeah, that started.
Yep.
Can I tell you? Because I'm gonna forget to answer the question. Who I think is gonna?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who I think is gonna? I think yours is gonna die.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. I think you're gonna get like distracted at work or something, and like there's gonna be something more important that's gonna pop up.
The biggest issue right now is that it's so dark down here. I can't see the fucking screen to play the games, so I have to bring it upstairs at some point and play the games on it. That's the issue. Yeah, the best animal based thing is to me is the cone on Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah, for certain.
Yep, it's just so pitch perfect for him as a character, and then, you know, obviously dogs do that. So it's just funny.
What's your favorite bit throughout the episode?
It's gotta, you know, I gotta give it to the George Takei thing. I think that being just overwhelming throughout the episode of him just saying like absolute toxic positivity nonsense, you know, just stuff that doesn't even make sense. That's really funny to me.
I really loved Todd in the car.
That's a good bit.
Because there was also some visual gags with it where like at one point they get into the car and it looks messier now that he's been spending time in there. Like there's just some really good stuff there.
Another animal based one that I forgot, and
okay.
Rutabaga has guitars that are signed on his wall.
Okay.
And they're signed by Woodchuck Berry, Eddie Van Walen, and BB King Cobra.
Okay, I like it.
The classic animal puns there with famous guitarists. So that's another good animal one.
And my favorite quote is the "You were born broken, that's your birthright" quote.
Yep, that's got to be that one.
Yeah.
It's got to be that one. That one's it's just too powerful for this episode.
Yeah, it's too good.
You know, definitely is. All right. So that's going to do it for anything else you want to say about this episode?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we covered it pretty well. Next episode, we are going to be covering Yesterdayland, which is season 2, episode 2 of Bojack Horseman. Bojack is drawn to the one female in town who has no idea who he is because she was in a coma. And then unrelated, Todd opens a theme park.
I can't wait for Todd to open a theme park.
Todd opening a theme park is pretty good. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I guess that does it for this episode. We'll see you guys next time. Shawn, why don't you let people know where they can find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Shawn_AFK.
And you can follow me at SpikeGhetti Bros on Twitter and Super SpikeGhetti Bros everywhere else. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Suck a dick, dumb shits!
Yowza, yowza, bobowza.